Hi, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Fam, a podcast from the Fredericksburg Area Museum where history meets community. I'm your host, Kelli Carneal, and today's episode is a really special one. We're celebrating the grand opening of Living Legacies, African American History in the Fredericksburg Area, our newest exhibition coming to FAM. Opening May 30th, this community-centered exhibition honors the incredible contributions and enduring impact of African American changemakers in our region, past and present. The exhibit will feature powerful artifacts, photographs, and personal stories, all curated with care and intention by Dr. Gaila Sims, who joins us here today. Gaila worked closely with local families to bring this vision to life, and in today's conversation, we'll explore what it means to preserve living legacies, how history is told through community voices, and the stories that shaped this exhibition. So let's get started. Gaila, thank you so much for joining me today. To start, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role here at the Fredericksburg Area Museum?
My name is Gaila Sims, and I hold two titles at the Fredericksburg Area Museum. I am the Curator of African American History and also the Vice President of Programs and Interpretation. So I work on exhibitions. I'm also in charge of the collections and education departments. And I do a lot of community outreach to let people know about what we have going on at the museum.
So let's talk about Living Legacies. How did this exhibition come to be, and what was your vision behind it?
So as many people know, I arrived in Fredericksburg in 2022. My position was created after 3 years of community-wide conversation about representation of African American history in the city. So I was hired to work at the museum in partnership with the city of Fredericksburg to enhance and expand African American history at the museum and across the area. Living Legacies is the culmination of the work we've been doing over the last 3 years to really get people to understand more about the amazing contributions of African American individuals in this area, in the state, and across the entire United States. So I'm really excited about Living Legacies because it captures so many important stories and individuals from Black history in this area. It is pretty comprehensive. So it starts in the enslavement era. It talks about the colonial, revolutionary, and antebellum periods. It talks about enslavement, but also free Black families who lived in the area during the period of slavery. Then we transition to talking more about the Civil War and Reconstruction. There's a section about segregation and how African American people created community institutions even while they were constrained by segregation and Jim Crow laws. And then the final zone of the exhibition, Zone 4, talks about the civil rights movement up until today. So like I said, it's really comprehensive. It's talking about 400 years of history in this area, and we're very excited for it to open.
Can you describe what visitors can expect to see when they walk into the exhibit? And I know you also worked closely with local families to create it. Can you share what that collaboration process was like?
Yes, so my intention is for people to really understand the stories of individuals here in this area. I want people to understand that there are all sorts of big things happening in the world, right? There's enslavement, there's war, there's segregation, but I want people to see what that actually meant for individuals and families here in Fredericksburg. Mm-hmm. I want people to understand the impact of these big moments on just people like you and me. And so I hope that when people come in, they find a story that really resonates with them. One of my favorite stories from the exhibition is the story of Anthony Burns. He was enslaved in Falmouth, Virginia, which is right across the Rappahannock River from Fredericksburg. He was taken to Richmond as an adult, and he self-emancipated. He ran away to Boston. He stowed away on a ship. Mm-hmm. And when he got to Boston, he started working. But this was after the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 had been passed. And so his enslaver figured out where he was and sent a slave catcher to get him. Abolitionists in Boston gathered around the courthouse when he was being tried to try to free him, and it didn't work. He was convicted and sent back to Richmond, where he was imprisoned for a while. Eventually, his supporters in Boston were able to pool together enough money to purchase his freedom, and he actually moved to Ohio and attended Oberlin College, which is where I got my undergraduate degree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I love the connection to him. So I think what his story represents, right, is somebody who wanted to be free and did whatever he could to find freedom. But it also shows how these larger laws, these larger issues were affecting individuals from this area. if he had run away before 1850, before the Fugitive Slave Act had passed, he would have been relatively safe in Boston. But because that had passed, it made everyone in that area complicit in the institution of slavery. So they were forced to return him south.
Wow.
So, that's just one story of hundreds in this exhibition, but it shows you that there's nothing more powerful than just hearing one person's story. And I think what we can do as an institution at museums is we can help people have empathy for these historical figures.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So I hope that people get that. In terms of meeting with families, since my first day in Fredericksburg, I've done a lot of work to build good relationships with local Black community members. I know that they deserve a lot of amazing things, and I have tried very hard to give them everything that they deserve in terms of public history and exhibits and programming and presentations. It has been a long process of building trust, and I don't take it for granted. I understand that it is difficult to trust institutions, especially ones that haven't always prioritized Black history. And so I'm very proud of the work that we have done at the museum to build trust with those communities. Some of them are descendants of the very people we're talking about in the exhibit. Some are newer arrivals like myself. And I hope that everybody who comes to see the exhibit feels seen in the stuff that we have on display.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So the phrase living legacies is so powerful. What does that term mean to you? And why do you think it's important to tell these stories now and to tell them locally?
So I think the city of Fredericksburg has done something really extraordinary in committing to this history in this way. I know that there's lots of places around the country that are grappling with their relationship to slavery, but the city choosing to hire this position and investing in this work is really amazing.
Yeah.
And I hope that people understand what a big commitment that is. So in terms of the time period, this is a really good time, I think, to be digging into these stories. And even though the auction block itself wasn't removed until 2020, the city was already working to enhance and expand these stories even before that. So I think in terms of the time period, that is one of the reasons that this is opening now. When I had originally started at the museum, we were supposed to open this exhibit in 2024, and I asked for another year because I wanted to make sure we did it as well as we could. And so I'm grateful people were patient with me and gave me a little bit more time because I really wanted to give it everything that I had and everything that the museum had. The title is really important to me. I've had some people joke that it's a little bland, which is fair, but it actually means a great deal to me. My work tries to connect the past and the present as much as possible. So Living Legacies has three meanings. The first is the actual familial ties, the descendant communities that are still here in Fredericksburg. I honor those locals who've been here their whole lives, whose parents were here. That's really important. And I'm actually pretty envious of that, generational tie to a place. So that's the first meaning. The second meaning is the legacies of slavery and segregation that we're still grappling with today. Things are a lot better than they were, but we're still trying to make progress toward full equality for people of all perspectives, races, and backgrounds. And then the third meaning of Living Legacies for me are the legacies of care and activism that Black community members have been doing here in Fredericksburg since their earliest days. We found evidence of enslaved women advocating for their own freedom in the very early 19th century. Wow. And that continues every day here in Fredericksburg. And so I hope when people see this exhibit, they see that there's always been people working. There's always been people trying to create better opportunities for themselves and their communities. And there have always been individuals who have given so much time and energy to making our city a better place. So those are the meanings for me, and I hope everyone who comes in has their own takeaway. But that's what I think about the exhibit. But I also know I'm not the only one who gets to decide what the exhibit means. Every visitor is going to have their own interpretation, and I can't wait to see what they decide. Yeah,
I think that'll be so cool and kind of see what everyone takes away, like you said, from different backgrounds and everything, how it'll kind of connect everyone in a unique way. So that's really exciting. So Gaila, what has this project taught you, either about the community, the museum, or yourself?
I learn every day. Every single new piece of information, every interaction It just goes in my brain and I store it till it needs to come out again. I have used this exhibit as an opportunity to put into practice a lot of ideas that I've had for a long time. As most people who know me know, I was in grad school for a long time. I've worked at a lot of different museums. I've been in the museum field now for about 12 years, I think. And so as I've been working at all sorts of museums, as I was completing my graduate work, I thought a lot about best practices in museums, the best ways museums could involve community members, honor the past, and try to affect change in the present. And so everything I've learned over all those years is poured into this exhibition. I've learned that I have a lot of ideas. I've learned that my colleagues are incredibly smart, and my work is always better when I do it in collaboration with the team at the museum. And I've learned that if you listen to people and you give people the chance to tell you what they need to tell you, they're always going to tell you. You just have to listen. And so everything I've learned from this exhibition will continue with me, and I'm very proud of it. I know it's not going to be perfect, but it's been a lot of love and care that has gone into it, and I hope people see that when they visit.
Yeah, I definitely think they will. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears that you put in. So one last question. If someone walks away from this exhibit with one thought or feeling, what do you hope that is?
That's so hard, Kelli. I think resistance. I care a lot about highlighting how enslaved people resisted, but how the threads of resistance have been in every moment of Black history in the United States. I think sometimes people believe that enslaved people didn't resist, or maybe they only see a big uprising as a form of resistance. But what I believe and what is in this exhibition is that enslaved people resisted all the time in small ways that ranged from just not listening to an order, to deliberately sabotaging something, to running away, to uprisings, to physical altercations. There's so many ways that enslaved people showed that they understood their own humanity and they were not going to take everything. And so I hope people see that in the section about enslavement. But that thread continues throughout the exhibit. Even after slavery, people are constantly protesting. They're being activists. They're advocating for themselves. They're building institutions. Resistance is one of the most important themes of the exhibit. And I think it's especially prescient right now in the United States. There are all sorts of things that we can do to support one another in our communities. And so I hope people see that in the exhibition.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to wrap up for me. Did you have anything else you'd like to mention about Living Legacies?
Well, Kelli, we're having a very big party on Friday, May 30th from 5 to 8 p.m. at the museum. We'll be having a huge opening reception. The exhibition is actually dedicated to Miss Gay Todd Adegbalola, who many people know is one of the most important and beloved figures in Fredericksburg's history. So she'll be there. She's invited all of her friends. We'll have a couple of speeches. I promise I won't talk for too long. I'm not promising that I won't cry, though. And we'll have music and food and drinks. And so I would really invite our community to come out and celebrate with us. I believe there's nothing more powerful than community. And so come
Absolutely.
out, hang out with us, look at the exhibit. Please don't tell me the things you don't like. Just come and have a good time. You can tell me the things you don't like in about a month after I've gotten some sleep. But I can't wait to see everybody there. And if you have anything you'd like to contribute to the exhibition, to contribute to the collection, if you just want to tell me a story, I'm always here and I'm always ready to hear.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gaila, for sharing your time and heart with us today, and for all the work you've done for the museum and for the city, and for bringing Living Legacies to life. To our listeners, we hope you'll join us for the Living Legacies grand opening and block party on Friday, May 30th from 5 to 9 p.m., right here at the museum and in Market Square. The event is free and open to the public and a great chance to explore the exhibit, connect with your neighbors, and celebrate Fredericksburg's living history. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on Let's Talk Fam.